No, get your Bloody Mary out.
Sorry, I'm having a Bloody Mary.
Yeah, having a Bloody Mary. It's the afternoon here. Annoyingly, I've only got the sort of remnants of...
In a war, all suffer.
The Battle of the Gullet opens season 3. Talk to me a little bit about just the scale of that in real life compared to what we see on screen.
Okay, so I'd say let me start with real life. So in real life, it was huge. It was incredible. It was amazing. You're on this set, there's a dry tank, there's a wet tank. I've never seen anything like that before. The ships were built on these kind of gimbals and these huge space, but the whole space was surrounded by like a blue screen. So we didn't see the sea. We didn't see, the other ships or the dragons. So then when you see the effects and the madness that we've been able to craft, it's so impressive. From the snippets I've seen, I mean, it's huge, and it makes the scene that we've recorded in this tiny tank look huge.
We were in Texas just recently promoting, and they showed a behind-the-scenes film, and they just kept reeling off all of these figures of, I don't know, how much water, how many stuntmen that were burnt.
Yeah.
Apparently it's a world record,
right?
right?
World record of 23 people burnt at the same time.
23 stuntmen burnt at the same time.
Oh my God, we're putting that directly on the IMDb trivia page. That's such a fun fact.
Honestly, it was such a spectacle.
There was a whole ship on the water tank. So if you think about it, that is crazy.
Like a real life size.
A real life size ship, which was just mental. And then obviously we had the dragon ride and stuff, which is actually pretty tame compared to that, because it's just one sort of room with a mechanical plate on it with a saddle on it that it's just sort of going like that. And you have to really exaggerate your movements to make it seem like you are properly riding.
They had this technology where we could sort of, in real time, they could show us edited into the battle already. So we could see our POV, we could see what was gonna happen. It was crazy. And that was so useful because we wouldn't have been able to match the scale otherwise. We wouldn't have known what we were trying to sort of match beneath us. So that was amazing.
Like, how much awe do I need to have on my face while I'm seeing everything like on fire or whatever it is?
Yeah. And also just sort of like physically, like size-wise, to remember that like you're riding a dragon that is so much bigger than you. So your movements might feel ridiculous, but actually on screen they look tiny.
Both of you have really intense moments during that entire sequence. Is there anything specific that you're especially proud of?
There was a particular sequence in the fight with myself and Abigail, Loha, where she hits me on the knee. I drop to my knee, and then I pull a dagger out of my my big weapon. I was to say my big tool, but it's not that kind of show.
Don't say that.
Yeah, my big weapon. Even weapon sounds a bit weird now. Hey. Now that it's out in the air, right?
It's okay, man.
Yeah, but when I pull this dagger out and I slash her on the thigh, and I always liked that move. So if that made it, I'm very pleased.
All that remains is for you to decide what you want from this war.
I feel like a lot of characters in this show can be pretty unpredictable at times, or most of the time, honestly. I'm wondering if there's anything that your character, or maybe someone else's character, has done along the way that you were shocked by.
I mean, lots has been shocking.
Yeah, lots has been shocking, hasn't it?
But maybe we've been numbed to the extremity after 4 or 5 years.
And we've been part of the shocking a lot of the time, haven't we?
We have.
I love the storyline between the two brothers. I think that's really interesting, between Tom and Ewan. And they're both such wonderful actors, and the sort of micro betrayals that are going on there.
I always think about Eamon, like, taking out his brother, like, midway through season 2, and the kind of cost that leaves on Team Green, and this understanding that you have of Eamon going forward is forever changing after that moment, which I find really interesting.
That was a dick move.
It's a dick move,
to say the least. When he permanently maimed Egon.
Yeah,
that little thing that he hopefully one day will pay the price for.
I didn't expect to feel bad for Egon, Tom's character, and now I'm kind of on his side a little bit.
Yeah.
and Aemond is 10 times worse, when it used to kind of be the other way around.
Yeah.
Big switch up to what previous seasons have showed us, you know?
Yeah.
You know, I think about Alicent a lot, in that, like, I actually really respect some of the really difficult decisions that she makes, you know, as a mother and as a woman. And I think that's the case with a lot of the characters. Some of the characters are generally just, like, don't give a... But, like, I think Alicent I think of as, like, someone who has to make really, really hard decisions that, like, are really difficult to live with.
I didn't see Rhaenyra, like, welcoming the dragon seeds through sort of, like, sheer desperation. I didn't see that coming because it totally goes against, like, the Targaryen mindset of, like, we are different to everybody else and this is our thing. And yeah, I didn't see that coming at all. She was like, come on in. Here's a seat at the table.
Yeah.
To our new riders.
There are so many small nuances that make a lot of these characters so interesting. I'm curious if there's any character details that you're proud of that viewers might miss while they're watching.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I think season 2, when Aemond sends Cole to the Riverlands, there's a cool little look, and it was almost like he was getting back at his mum. He kind of, maybe there was a hint of something that he knew, that Kristen Cole and Alicent were having some sort of relationship, and Aemond was quite jealous of that. And there's something interesting with that. It's like no one can get near my mum but Aemond, kind of thing.
I say we're all agreed.
I remember shooting a scene with Daemon right before I take him to the Godswood, to the Weirwood tree, before he has that pretty epic vision. And I remember, like, feeling really sad and complicated about, like, letting him go, because I knew I was gonna have to kind of, like, let him go. And I remember us playing the scene that way, and they chose the take in which I was, like, kind of pained, and you got to kind of see a more, like, you know, human side of Alice Rivers, and I appreciated them allowing that in there, because I think it kind of opened a door for, like, who is this kind of seemingly quite cold and mysterious person, and why is she having this reaction, you know?
There are omens here for those who seek them.
Certainly at the beginning, you and I used to have lots of looks to one another.
Yeah.
Or you would do warning looks to me.
Yeah. No, we have a lot of that, yeah.
Yeah. Hugh would try and help Ulf a bit. And go, not now, bro.
He is the Prince, Ulf. Prince Jacaerys Velaryon.
Prince Jacaerys Velaryon. Right here.
I'd say one of the things that's been really apparent when we've done the scenes since we claimed our dragons is how often someone in the scene promises something or says something and they don't listen to us, you know. And actually, because he's so irreverent and says stuff all the time and people are looking at him, I'm often observing them being rude to him, and I'm observing their true nature and whether or not we trust them or whether or not they're actually worthy of loyalty.
Yeah.
And actually, they fall down all the time.
Yeah.
You know?
And I force people to fall down
Yeah.
accidentally, but
They don't realise that
he
he's-
makes a note of it.
He's
I do it
bringing it
by
out of them
accident,
all
but
the
you
time.
make note of it.
And they treat us like crap. So it's really interesting to just play in that stillness and listen.
There's a scolding look I give to Ulf when I'm kind of reprimanding him
You
and then running
do,
away. And
you
I,
do.
And I quite
You
like
do,
how I
don't
lay it
you
on
do.
him. I was like,
You do.
Is that what you're gonna, is that what you're gonna do? You're just gonna run away?
Yeah, and I come back at you like,
Yeah,
we're not massive fans of one another.
Yeah, I quite like that moment.
And in the show also, as characters.
Yeah.
Sense of humour do you all good.
The costuming in the world of Game of Thrones is always incredible. I'm wondering if there's anything specific in the costumes or maybe props that really informed how you played a certain scene.
Alicent this season, and we saw at the end of last season, she's really abandoning this Hightower green and going back to a colour that reminds her of her sort of purest self when she was a child, this sort of powdered blue, because I think ultimately for us all as adults, we want to go back to who we once were when we were kids and the simplicity of that. So I think even if it's not a conscious decision, that's what she's sort of steering herself towards.
You know, I got this gambeson, like, which is kind of it's the thing I wear under my armor. Like, it's a cream leather gambeson that they designed, and it gets really muddy over the course of the season, but still remained the most comfortable item of clothing I think I've ever worn in my life. You know, it's very rare that you get to wear clothes that are fitted to you. And so to get to wear something that literally felt like I was putting a glove on every time I would wear it was such a joy.
Firstly, Caroline, our costume designer, is wonderful, and her attention to detail is unmatched, in my opinion. But I had to wear this cape and the hood the entire season. And with wind and with resetting and with being active in any way at all, the cape would always get in the way. So that actually, it didn't aid my performance, it hindered it, but in quite a useful way, because it like restricted my movement, which just only helped with his lack of ability at that point. Yeah.
I just had a big shoe. Just a big
What's
shoe.
your nickname, was it? Big Shoe?
Oh, Big Shoe.
Big
Here he
shoes,
comes.
yeah.
I think with the armour that Eamon dons this season, Caroline McCall, our phenomenal costume designer, she's tailored this beautiful, almost like skin-tight armour. We actually did a 3D body scan of my body so we could actually mould each individual piece so it was skin tight, and it allowed for this maneuverability with my performance, and I was able to really just feel like I'm not wearing armor. It's just an extension of my own skin, and that's a testament to her talent.
I love just having a sword because it's such a good hand rest. So like I'd rest like that, and it would make me look 10 times cooler instead of my hands just being flat down here.
Yeah.
So I just sort of rest here and then just rest like that if I was like at the painted table or whatever, and then just like play with it or whatever.
That's
and
funny.
then that's what I loved. And obviously having the cape is pretty cool as well. And there's things in the costume that you guys don't even see. Like everything is embroidered with Targaryen symbols and things like that, and you won't even probably see it on
It's
screen.
amazing. All the belts are like, they've got these tiny details on, and I think the structure of Baylor's outfits mean that it's always I get to hold myself in a different type of way, and I don't feel like the day started until I can have all the hair, makeup and everything on, but until I've put the on and it's there, does it feel like we've landed?
I had the kind of challenge and exciting challenge of just having one look last season. So Caroline spent so much time making it have a lot of meaning, personally for this character, and also it became so dear to me and became a part of Alice's past, and also gave us this really exciting jumping off point for where's she gonna go. So the dress just became this kind of burden in some way, this past in a great way that is exciting, because I think she'll have to shed it at some point, or maybe not. Maybe it'll come back, maybe it won't.